lálùjọ mẹ́ta nílẹ̀ sọ.
Lagoon Radio. You are listening to Lagoon Radio.
A beautiful afternoon to you once again. Don't forget you're still listening to your number one online radio station in Nigeria. It's the Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio station. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Twitter and on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng. Time check is 21 minutes gone past 3 p.m. West African time, and it's still the 10th day in the month of November 2021. Our time flies, and how we proceed towards the end of the year. It's another beautiful episode of the Family Matters with Kaye on Lagoon Radio, that number one show where we discuss everything pertaining to family issues, irrespective of whatever role you play in the family. This show is meant for you, because definitely you get to learn something new every week when we have this show. This show airs every Wednesday from 3:20 to 4 p.m. on Lagoon Radio. And you don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms to be a part of the show, to listen, to join conversations. All you have to do is to dial our number to be a part of the show, 08189 Lagoon 524366. I repeat, 08189 524666. That is the number to call to join the conversation for today. Last week on the show, we discussed the importance of marriage, the joys and the challenges in marriage. And on this week, you have a fresh topic just for you. But before I unveil the topic to you, don't forget to follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, LagoonTV, subscribe to our news blog, Lagoon.News, to listen to the live broadcast from wherever you are in the world. My name is Olumakaiye, your humble host ever, and on today's show, sit back as I keep playing you this beautiful medley from Lagoonradio.Ng. Don't go nowhere.
Listening to Lagoon Radio. You are listening to Lagoon Radio.
Ọba lágbádá iná, kò sóni tó lè pa, ọba tó ga ga ga, kò sẹ́ni tó lè ní tiẹ̀. Ìbàbà pẹ̀lú àlùjọ mẹ́ta. Ìgbọ́dù, Ọlọ́run ọba ìgbà rẹ̀ ó yá. Mo ní kó lálùjọ mẹ́ta gbé, mẹ́ta tó ṣáná. The word of God is sharper. The word of God is proper. Oh sharper, oh proper, oh sharp proper. Ẹ bá mi lálùjọ mẹ́ta tó ṣáná. Yeah. The word of God is sharper. The word of God is proper. Oh sharper, oh proper. Who is the center? Jesus is the center.
You are listening to Lagoon Radio. You are listening to
Trust you heard that wonderful song. It says Jesus is the center of it all. And yes, we're building our marriages today on the center, of which our topic for today is tolerance in marriage. Tolerance in marriage. This means a whole lot to marriage, because it's an important ingredient and component of marriage. So tolerating one another is as important as the entire marriage itself, because it shows that this is how long the marriage will last. Because if you cannot bear each other, if you cannot be patient with each other, that marriage may not definitely last long. I trust while the commercial break was going on, you were able to follow, you were able to keep put a face to the voice that you're listening to currently, as we going straight into what we have today. So, like I said, today's topic is still tolerance in marriage. Tolerance is an important virtue for families, and this strengthens affection among spouses and helps to build marriages happy and stable. Tolerance is the most important factor for a happy marriage. Tolerance involves respect, acceptance, and appreciation. It can help build communication when different ideas on things come in, because it is important that in marriage you should be able to bear with each other, understand each other, even when conflict, argument, quarrel, disputes set in. It should be something that you should tolerate each other no matter what. So it's a good thing that spouses understand each other and they don't get frustrated when they have issues, when issues come in, when a partner does unusual thing, they don't freak out. It's not a pet peeve. We'll also be discussing that aspect of understanding the place of tolerance in marriage, and we'll also be discussing the final aspect of pet peeves and being able to tolerate pet peeves in marriage. We had a discussion here yesterday during the afternoon drive show, and we're discussing so many pet peeves, and pet peeves vary in each other's opinion. So what may serve as something you can tolerate, another person may not be able to tolerate it. So we'll be bringing those pet peeves to a point or place of compromise, in the sense that we'll be tabling, what can you tolerate, what can your spouse not tolerate. So how do you merge these things? How do you set in patience? Because if you do something that freaks out one partner of yours, it may just be out of it for that partner. So we're talking about the place of tolerance and pet peeves in marriage, and we'll be discussing that in total. We'll be going further into more details on tolerance. We live in a world whereby everything bother us. Things are not even directly affected to us. Things that are not directly that don't directly talk to us in personal way, we get affected by it. But tolerance helps us understand that you and your partner are two different people, and there are similarities between you two, but generally you are very different. And even in your different sides, your love is still stronger. Tolerance is a tool that helps your love deal with those differences and collisions that you guys might have once and once in a while. Sometimes they're especially strong if you both like traveling, or you guys have so many similarities. So people need to be especially tolerant for each other and with each other, and go beyond their comfort zone to see that, okay, let's make things work. Tolerance kills selfishness among and within, can harm your self-esteem. This happens to your partner. And why should you be tolerant of each other? It's not only because you are in love, but apart from this, accepting your fault and that of your partner, being able to take your eyes off it, being able to bear with whatever circumstance, being able to, listen to your partner, know what he or she likes, know how to manage his dislikes, know how to manage his attitude, know how to manage his habits, and, little things that generally will piss you off on a normal day. Know how to manage certain things. When it comes to pet peeves, some people can't tolerate you using the toilet and you're not flushing it, you farting here and there, you doing certain things. But these are things that we'll also be looking at, because if you cannot tolerate little things like this, or come to a place of compromise, or look for a better way to table it and understand that situation, or understand that person for whom he is, because of love and because of marriage, then these are things that serve as barriers, and these are things that break homes down as you are currently speaking, because little things really get into marriage. So do you know that tolerance in marriage is a great mantra towards a good relationship between you and your spouse? Like, did you know? So when you live together 24/7, it is only natural that you feel edgy about your spouse many times. But the habits of a spouse irritates you so much that you feel tensed and annoyed. So the way your spouse handles money matters is often an exact contrast to you. For instance, if you're someone that you are very picky, I won't call it extravagant, but then you like shopping for quality things, and your spouse is of the other opinion that, no, let's save it, you guys might have a dispute on that. But if you don't come to a place of compromise, you will not understand yourselves easily, and you don't know when to tolerate, when to bear, when to compromise. Everything just becomes, okay, let me just do it for the sake of doing it, and can pour out anger and diversified attitude toward your spouse, and it's capable of destroying your marriage. So yes, there are certain things you should, yes, there are certain things you should never tolerate in marriage, and there are certain things you should tolerate as it will help your marriage grow. So moving on to things that you should never and should not tolerate in marriage: verbal and physical abuse, irresponsibility, because I don't know, young people feel like, oh, if you're getting married to someone, you're capable of changing that person's behavior, that person's habits. No, you don't. A man is not capable of influencing another man's habits or another man's behavior. So these are things that you should not tolerate. You should not tolerate indifference, throwing things around in an unreasonable free way, skating and demeaning comments about you and your relatives, passing snide remarks about your upbringing, your family, your religion. When you get into conversations or arguments with your spouse, and your spouse is saying, or your spouse to be, your partner to be, is saying, oh, they didn't bring you up well, they didn't, it's making you remember, it's sending you back to your family, sending you back home, like the way the Yorubas will say it, oh Roy Lole. These are things that serves as red flags in marriage and relationships. So if you're a young person out there, you're listening to me, yes, this is a red flag you should watch out for. If you're in a quarrel with your partner, and the quarrel is all about sending you back home, the partner is telling you your parent did not bring you well, you don't have home training and all of that, it's a big red flag that you should watch out for. So you can't be intolerant in such a situation, but it's very essential that you tolerate the diversified opinion of your spouse. You should also be tolerant towards minor faults of your spouse. So without tolerance in marriage, your relationship with your spouse will always be wearing and confrontational. You are unable to cope with the tension, lack of tolerance, which brings into day-to-day interaction with your spouse. So what are common aspects that makes you feel intolerant towards your spouse? Is it the laziness? Is it the disorganized way of doing things? Personally, I don't like someone that is not organized. I feel like, no, there's certain ways you will, in as much as you don't want to say it, but then body language will read. So if you notice you have certain things that serves as pet peeves for you, it is something that you should either tell your spouse in a way that they would understand you, not from a place of anger, not from a place of complaints. They will understand you and take the corrections, and work out on those things that serves as pet peeves for you. Because if you don't sit down and talk it out amicably, you might begin to pass it out in your reactions and attitudes towards your partner. So also, you should also learn to find it possible to tolerate friends. There are some of your spouses that don't like friends around, your working schedule, timing, and all of this. These are things that you should be able to manage. Your tolerance does not give your spouse the liberty to demean you or get away with anything. Fight fear, to make your spouse understand that it might be an unwarranted behavior that will not be tolerated. But then all the same, like I explained, there are common pet peeves that people don't tolerate. For instance, being utterly unreliable, being irresponsible, constantly comparing your relationship with others. If you get into argument with your spouse and it's constantly, comparing your marriage to another person's marriage, and these are things that at times can throw you off balance. But then there should be a level at which you should tolerate these things, because we know that it's not easy to compare relationship with other people, but then there should be a way out of it, and that is the most important thing. So how do you embrace pet peeves, and yet how can you be more tolerating? Some pet peeves between some husbands and wife could actually be a good thing, but then in the process of embracing pet peeves and tolerating, there are some good things that some bad things that your partner do that will annoy you. But then how do you tolerate these things? How do you get away with it? How do you look off it or look away? I like it they say now, how do you look away? How do you carry your face off these things? These are more things that we will be discussing after the music break. Right now, don't go nowhere. Keep following Lagoon Radio on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Twitter, and on Instagram at Lagoonradio.Ng. It's still Family Matters with Kay. Don't go nowhere.
You are listening to Lagoon
Welcome back. You're still listening to Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio station. We are broadcasting from the very heart of Lagos Marina, part and sponsored by the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. Yes, it's still the Family Matters with K show here on Lagoon Radio. We've been discussing on tolerance in marriage and, tolerating each other's pet peeves and, all of those funny habits that your partner tends to exhibit even in marriage. So how do you cope with all of this? How do you bear? How do you forgo? How do you practice patience amidst all of these, difficulties? Because definitely a pet peeve is a difficulty. So how do you practice patience amidst all of these difficulties? Tolerance is key to understanding, and understanding is the force that holds marriage together for decades. So if you are tolerant of your partner, then there are many ways you should understand him during your relationship with him. If you understand each other, it's then faster and easier for you to avoid problems in your relationship with that person. Thus your love becomes strong and lasts longer. And as you can see, tolerance is the force that helps you reinforce your relationship, because eventually it will transform them into a last longing marriage. So tolerance kills selfishness without harming your self-esteem, because the same happens to your partner. Why you should be tolerant of each other? Because you are in love, and apart from the faulty side, there are other sides of it. Tolerance allows you to tell your partner that there's something you don't like about him or her. When you are tolerating, it gives room for discussion. It gives room for coming out open, saying what you have in mind. You be like, babe, I don't like what you did, try to improve upon it. Like, for instance, personally, I tell someone that I don't like you being organized, I don't like you be disorganized. And it's not to make the other partner feel bad, but it's to make them correct and work on their excesses. Definitely you should know your partner fully. You know what they like, what they don't like. When they begin to complain about something, you don't like they are complaining, but then they don't like this particular habit you're exhibiting, and they want a change, they want to see a difference. But then out of place of tolerance, out of a place of patience, they are not complaining, they are not ranting, it's not like an everyday argument or something. Then that doesn't mean you're losing your self-esteem. You just have to keep being tolerant, because that way alone will save your marriage from a lot of damages and arguments. Tolerance can make your life happy, and yes, from one point of view, it seems that tolerance can only hurt your self-esteem. But I will always never agree to your partner. It's not a no statement. You need to agree with your partner. For whatever reason, there has to be a point of compromise. You should come to a point of understanding. So I will share with you different ways to accept your partner, different ways to tolerate their pet peeves, different ways to stay patient in marriage. All of these are things that, aside romantic relationships, you may also accept certain traits about your partner while tolerating them. And of course, this helps to understand the differences between accepting and tolerating your partner in order to make the differentiation. There's when you tolerate someone's behavior, you can still be angry and frustrated or even resentful about it. But however, when you get to accept, all of that negativity fades away. When you accept someone's behavior, when you get to, okay, this is whom this person is, I accept, and I can reduce my level of pet peeves for that particular thing. If you've spoken to your spouse, oh, please, can you help me do the laundry, or can you stop flinging? Men generally have the habit of flinging. Some men, not every man though. Some men have the habit of flinging their clothing whenever they come back from work, due to tiredness and stress. But if you're a very organized person, and flinging shirts is a pet peeve for you, or dumping dirty clothes is a pet peeve, these are things that you should sit down and talk through, converse with your partner, because they need to know what exactly gets you angry. You don't have to rant, you don't have to scream, you don't have to shout. It's just a one-on-one conversation and dialogue with your partner. So all of these things are things that you should work on, So when a person gets to look at the behavior that they are tolerating, you should understand it provides them positive. And couples that actually go beyond accepting to appreciating that behavior. For instance, it says that appreciating your partner's saving for the future and concern for security is to save and appreciate, and it will mean better enjoyment for life. So the first thing you should do in order to accept your partner and not just tolerate them is for you to accept them the way they are. When you get to accept your partner the way they are, it gives room for more tolerance, because everyone around you who may feel like, oh, they are making noise about something. Acceptance does not carry "I wish it was." It doesn't carry that theme. So acceptance really has its core idea and is of the person whom is in question. So meanwhile, tolerating doesn't have the same. The same tolerating means, oh, you're fine with anything that comes. But when you're talking about accepting that person's behavior, you are talking about, okay, we can move with this. I'm cool with it. You move. So also you need to accept the needs they have, accept the person's needs. In relationship, each person has certain wants and needs, and hopefully they match up with yours, because it has to even definitely match up with yours. So understanding the difference between accepting and tolerating your partner relates to the emotions and thoughts underneath their behavior. So if your partner, thinks some kind of way and you're not even discussing it, you're only passing more danger to yourself, actually. So the third thing for you to do is for you never to judge your partner. You can always, like I said, create platforms and avenue to discuss and chat about whatever is bothering you, about things that get you angry, or things that might pose a likely quarrel, rather than shouting, ranting, making it a big issue, especially when you've given birth, when you have children. We don't want our kids to begin to see our daily quarrels, our daily arguments. It's not good for them to see it, but then let's limit it. There's no marriage without ups and downs, there's no marriage without quarrels, there's no marriage without fights and arguments. But then let's not post it too much, and let it not be done in faces of these children, so they don't have things to call and talk about. So no one likes to be judged, and if you're judging your partner, you're not wholeheartedly accepting them. Acceptance tends to be more holistic and perhaps even a loving state, for that matter. So don't judge your partner for any reason. You should also accept your partner's differences versus trying to change them. Like I said, changing someone it's not an easy task, honestly. You trying to change someone's behavior, someone that you've been with, and all of a sudden, someone that has grown to a full man, you want to change his behavior. But these are things that over a long run, they would imbibe that culture, they will imbibe that attitude, depending on how you're telling them that, oh, this thing, oh, I don't like it. If you're someone that screams about your pet peeves, your guy would definitely not attend to you. It's not like he's trying to make you feel hot, but then if you go in a way that you're humble, you're passing your message across, you're not, in a friendly, calm, tolerating situation, then such a partner tends to yield to what he has saying, and it will it will do it to make you more happy in that scenario and situation, rather than inconveniencing the whole house because you want to make a point. So another thing is for you not to get easily irritated by them. Pet peeves can mean a lot. It's like you tolerating what you will not tolerate on a normal day. But like I said, character counts, and body reactions will generally speak. But amidst all of this, try not to pass it out. Try not to make it obvious that, oh, probably you're irritated. Don't bring that irritation to the face of your partner. The difference between accepting your partner for the way they are and tolerating them is fairly huge. So when you accept your partner for who they are, you won't find yourself irritated or annoyed anymore by their behavior. You just accept it because you can't actually change that situation. So another thing is that you should be good at seeing the positive sides of your partner's traits rather than less positive traits, because see the positivity in his behaviors rather than the bad things that he does. Because the more you see the bad angles, the more the bad angles the more the bad angles upset you, the more the bad angles get you angry. For instance, if you're always grumbling, you're always nagging, it will continue to do things that make you angry if you don't pass the information clear and calmly. So these are things that you have to watch out for in your marriage, because acceptance is when you take everything as it comes, good and bad. However, you can make changes to the bad sides calmly, respectfully, patiently, in a humble manner, and this will cause a likely change. Like I said, a likely change. It's not a possible change, but a likely change. So all of these are things that you should work on, and make sure that you are emotionally honest and not codependent on the person, your partner. Make sure that you're emotionally honest in the sense that if you are in a codependent relationship, it may not be easy for you to learn towards tolerating your partner's behavior more so than upsetting them. But when partners tolerate each other's behavior instead of fully accepting it, they are at the risk of codependency. So codependency can wear many faces, but it's not by speaking to your partner transparently about its preferences, wants, and values. You're emotionally dishonest with yourself and with them, resulting into resentment. But when as you accept them, your tolerance level and your emotions of annoyance and all of that will definitely fade away. They will fade away. So in a more honest note, you should be emotionally honest. Like, tell them the truth in a calm way. When men hear the truth in a calm way, they tend to be more relaxed, and they tend to implement what they've heard. Obviously, they don't want to make you unhappy. They don't want to hurt you. They don't want you to, always tell them the same thing repeatedly. So they tend to change towards the habits you are trying to stop them from exhibiting. And another thing is that you should have more good days than bad days. Like I was saying, when arguments come, when fights come, try to have more good days, have more fun time as couples rather than fights, arguments all the time. Let your children say, oh, my mommy and my daddy, they take us to this place, we go out on so days, we eat this. I have much more exciting memories of you and your spouse to share, because in as much as your kids begin to record bad memories, they begin to think, oh, why did you guys even get married? Is marriage for you guys? Are you two supposed to be married to each other? So give your children and give yourself the benefit of doubt that yes, even though there are ups and downs in marriages, make your marriage an example, make it a point of something that you can speak for, you can stand up and speak for in the public. That is what you should look out for your marriage, something that you can stand up to speak up for, something that your marriage will serve as an inspiration to another young couple out there, or to another other intending couples out there. Something that that, oh, if they call you at any public speaking occasion, you can confidently speak about your marriage. You can confidently speak about the good days in your marriage. You can confidently speak about the bad days in your marriage. So these are things that both spouses, not only the wife, the man, the groom, the husband, these are things that you should look out for. So don't do things that that in the public, when they say you should come and talk about your marriage, we will talk about it. Try to work more on improving on the bad sides, so that it will reduce the chaos, conflicts, arguments, quarrels, and complaints from your marriage, and to give room for good days. When when there's less chaos, there's a happy home. So these are things that couples and spouses should be deliberate about. These are things they should pay attention to on a daily basis. And also, don't make excuses to stay together, even when you want to stay together. Give yourself audience, give yourself room to make choices, give yourself that time and availability. When you have bad times in marriage, when you have bad days, when you have arguments, but give yourself an opportunity to stay together and talk it out again. Let's talk it out, because the biggest difference I see in tolerance and accepting in a romantic relationship is the justification to want to stay together. They'll say because you've had an argument, or you move separate rooms, or it will be crystal clear to your kids that, oh, daddy and mommy just fought, daddy and mommy just had an argument, our TV broke, our fridge destroyed, something bad happened. But let it be that your children will say, oh, mom and dad just had an argument, and in less than 30 seconds, they are back together, they are happy, they are giggling, they are, you won't even know that something happened. At times when you listen to the discussion in between your children, you will hear all of these things silently. They watch out for your attitudes, they watch out for whatever you do. So let there be a justification to still remain together, even in the midst of chaos, in the midst of arguments, in the midst of quarrels, which is inevitable in marriage, but it can be realistically reduced. Yes, arguments are inevitable in marriage, but it can be realistically reduced with tolerance, with understanding, with commitment, with dedication, with love, with patience. All of these things can be realistically reduced. So I hope with this 3 points of mine, I hope I've been able to educate you, enlighten you, and inform you on all of these things or tips, ideas, and ways that you can be more tolerating despite pet peeves from your partner, from your spouse, despite all of this chaos, despite arguments, how you can be more tolerating in marriage. And with tolerance, you can enjoy the greater part of your marriage, because when you embrace so many things, when you embrace your pet peeves and try to work up on them, try to sift out things. Personally, when it comes to the issue of farting, how many of you can tolerate your partner farting in your front? How many of you can tolerate your partner being disorganized? How many of you can tolerate your partner not flushing the toilet? These are little things. Like I said, the slightest things get to people who have pet peeves. The slightest things that don't even have meaning, they're not supposed to have meaning, they get to. But then, in as much as you want to have a perfect home, you want to have a happy home, you want to enjoy your marriage, you want to enjoy your relationship with your spouse, these are things that you have to embrace and tolerate and bear. Not forgetting, tolerating means bearing. It means compromising. You're not lowering your self-esteem, you're just compromising. You are trying to make it better. You're putting down your side, what worries you. You are putting away what upsets you. You are dropping them. You are giving room for a more tolerating situation. You are giving room for change. Because if someone tells me his pet peeve is not being organized, and it tells me in something in a way that I know that, oh yes, this person has confronted me amicably on this situation, and I feel like yes, this calls for change, deliberately that partner will work towards it. But if you go fighting, if you go screaming about it, that partner will go otherwise on such issue. So don't forget to join us same time next week, Wednesday, from the hours of 3:20 to 4 p.m. West African time, here on Lagoon Radio, for another beautiful episode of the Family Matters Show with Kay. And that is pretty much about what I have for you on today's episode. Don't forget to stay tuned. Don't forget to stay connected. Up next at 4 is the news at 4. So don't go nowhere. I still remain your humble host, Alao Coinsola. See you same time next week. Bye for now.
You are listening to